This is the Dog Savant Podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. Today is episode 63. My name is Brett Endies. I'm your host. I am a professional dog trainer based out of Los Angeles. Reason for this podcast is to share my experience. I've been training dogs for some time, and I want to just pass on information that I know has worked in the real world with people who may not have quality dog training or limited access to dog training, or just if you're a client wanting to supplement the training you may be doing already or with myself. Okay, so moving on from there, I always ask, please, if you're new or have been listening, subscribe on iTunes, share this, tell other people. I'll explain why social media may not be that valid anymore, but nonetheless, let people know about this podcast. It's really the only reason I do it. I'm not trying to monetize this. I might use it to promote things like a book I offer and other things, but I really just want to share the content. My whole idea is as I get older, I want to give more, A, and B, I want to share. Be able to, if I'm going to spend 20 minutes talking dog, I'd like to put it in front of maybe more owners that it can help more people at the same time, right? There's only one me. That's the beauty of, I guess, the internet and maybe social media. We'll talk about that briefly. Okay, so today we're going to do a few Q&As. I do want to touch on a subject real quick, get it out of the way. About a week and a half ago, I guess, I had commented that there's a trainer, and I did it in a past episode about a month or two ago, Dog Whispering and Energy, I think was the title, where there was a trainer, Christopher. He tended to mock another woman, and maybe she was goofy or whatever, but it was just making fun of something that I do utilize when I train dogs, and it's very believable to me and not from my own imagination, from many, many unrelated people. I train thousands of dogs, and a lot of people, when you tap into it, and energy could just be focusing more. So inside you feel calmer. I mean, it's a sensory integration thing. Sensory processing is not really understood by a lot of dog trainers because they're not terribly educated in that field. And I myself have a degree in comparative psychology, and more importantly, I raised a child with autism by myself, and with that understanding and living with her, and I have some sensory processing difficulties, I get how the overload of information or instinct kicking in where you're in a normal everyday situation your consciousness should navigate can get you to cause can cause a misinterpretation of what's really going on. And for an animal, that can happen very quickly. Right, so that's energy. It's not throwing laser beams. It's not even, I think, Dog Whisperer, there's some validity in what he does and some of the things he teaches, but that's not all that it is. Anyway, so that was being mocked, that was being made fun of, and I don't know, I just was in a mood that day, right? I'll admit that. And I just felt like I'd seen his face come through my scroll one too many times, and I never, and just to clarify, I never once said anything bad about his training. I don't know enough about it, but from what it looks like, he sure knows his shit, and people I respect him, so that's all enough said. But I'm just saying, if he's going to mock something, maybe you got to look within too. And I'm talking about myself too. If you listen to all the episodes of this podcast, you'll realize that I'm very aware of my flaws. I talk about them, I share them, I want to work on them. I'm hardly the perfect person. So with all that, I commented basically, if you're going to make a mockery of how someone trains dogs, blah, 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 you should want to look within. And something about his weight, well, he's not that much bigger than me, if at all. I've been bigger than him at times. So it's just really to be funny. And the real reason why I went there with him is because I know, or I think I know, he used to be a professional comedian before a dog trainer, or maybe he still does that, right? And he seems like he has a good sense of humor, especially back when we went through the whole Gage thing, and he was, I was on that guy's side. We were circling the wagons against that idiot. But anyway, that triggered a fucking windfall of comments, people telling me I'm horrible, a hypocrite, why go there, I should look in the mirror, blah, blah, blah. And these are all people that don't know me, right? He made a video I didn't even watch, I'm sure it was going there, starting to critique my training, and that's where I started saying, well, hold on a second. Hey, you don't know me as a person, you don't know my life, don't know what I've been through. That's why I share this stuff on the podcast, so you can have more insight. If you want to judge me, at least know the backstory. And my training, you certainly haven't a clue what I'm doing, because I'm coming in, I'm retraining lots of dogs that have been trained by a lot of different styles, and I go by what real life people tell me and what they're having me come back for and referring their friends to me for. So I'm not delusional, I'm just saying, and whatever you're interpreting from my videos or what I did in my show or anything like that, I would love you to see it in person. Come to my my new client sessions, come to my classes and see it, right? Just so you can have a better idea, and you can pass all the judgment you want. You can film it on site, whatever. I have tons of Southwest points. Boy, I got this card that gave me a load of them. I got like 90,000 Southwest points. I'll give him the flight. That's what I offer. And it's like, oh, why would he? Because he wants me to keep going on his live thing. And I'm not going to be, he's got a huge online following compared to me. I'm shit on social media, and I realize that. And that's why I make a joke of it, because it doesn't do anything for my business. I exist in the real world with referrals and one-on-one clients, which some people might say I'm hurting myself, but my clients seem to like the shit I get. They all comment, oh, it's kind of funny what you're doing online. So, whatever. So I won't go on the video because he has a lot of people. They're going to pile on me, and it's going to be, they're getting an interpretation of me that's so off kilter. They all have to prove that they know the backstory before I would even enter an arena like that. So, for example, because this is how it proves to me that people are really delusional and they knee-jerk before they hear what I'm trying to explain. I'm not really making fun of him being overweight. He's not even that overweight. I'm saying just have to be funny, have to say, hey, you're not just saying certain types of training are bad like I do, or I say, hey, I've come in and retrained dogs with the guy with the hat. He's like, well, you're a hypocrite. You talk about the guy with the hat and the ponytail guy. I've retrained dogs that have done that and work with people that have worked with these individuals, and they're telling me, so I'm just passing on the information, right? And a little joke here and there with it. And I'm willing to call me. It's funny the things people are saying to me. So anyway, that's why I'm doing it. I wouldn't do it to other people. Some people I assume as a comedian, he's not as sensitive. He's wired in a way that he can get a little bit of the humor even if he doesn't think the joke's funny. All right, so here's how it proves to me that people are completely out of their minds. And I'm not reading the comments, but just glancing over, I saw. So some people were telling me that the one guy saying I was gay. So first of all, I'm not gay. I have a girlfriend who lives with me. I have a child with another woman, right? And I don't know what gave him the idea, but he was not letting go of that. So he's telling me I'm gay. Jealous? I don't think so. I had a show. I have a really great life. I have a lot of clients who I'm very happy working with, and they pay me more than I feel I should be getting paid. I meet some interesting, cool people. I get some more opportunities because of that. So, no, I don't think I'm jealous. I just don't really think social media is my thing, and I just mock it because, to me, it doesn't hurt me. No one even knows I exist on social media when they find me as a new client. So, whatever. The other one was like, maybe he's got the nerve to put himself out there on video. It's talking about like I didn't want to go on his live stream or something because I only want to hide behind a podcast. I think I had posted a link to the podcast I did previous about this subject, a little less in depth than I'm doing now. And I mean, I had a show. I had a couple episodes, almost 1 million people saw it. So I've been on television where it's been same numbers, right? I go and do groups, and so that's invalid. I'm trying to think. There was a couple other ones where people were just saying things about me that were like, I'm like, and my girlfriend's reading them, and I stopped. I'm going to be honest why I did stop, and he was like, oh, we scared you off the internet. No, my girlfriend was getting upset by reading it, and I love her more than the world, and I just don't need to go there. It's a waste of my time. You'd see I banter with a few people. To me, that was entertainment because I'd be sitting in my car waiting to go to the next client or something, but it's exhausting. It's toxic. I think people that jump on this, it's like a pile-on because, and that's I find the 2 times I got the absolute most feedback and comments and likes and blah, 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 or dislikes from anything I ever did on Facebook or social media was this, right? Oh, God, I don't even know. I think I'm just going to delete it. It's just ridiculous. Whatever. And the time that at my brother's wedding a couple months ago, I posted myself in a suit and people really thought I looked handsome, and I don't know. So, interesting. Yet I post for the past 5 years at least, lots of information. I had a show, and really what it is, the dog world never really had any feedback, good or bad, at least not that I knew of. So I don't care what they think. That's why I've done in podcasts where I blasted the guy who ran IACP. I'm sorry people die. It's unfortunate. But I think, it's whatever. I have to tell you my experience. And it's my opinion with Christopher. I still think he's a good trainer. That's why I think you're jealous. I'm not, this is not a training thing. This is just a person thing. I just stand strong against people that if they're going to mock something, they got to be prepared to be mocked. It was more of an experiment. So with that said, let's move on. I hope that made sense. People are not going to be convinced. No one gets vindicated nowadays. They're just going to either move on to another thing about me or someone else for the flavor of the day to pile on and just say shit about and tell them how horrible a person they are. Okay, so let's move on to Q&A. So I have a good one, and this is really a common thing I see. And back in the day, you had to get creative. Now they have resolves to it. So what is that? When your dog has separation anxiety, you're trying to crate train your dog, potty train your dog, teach him to be in some kind of confinement. Some dogs, especially dogs that are a little more hypervigilant, aka control freaks, or dogs that just introducing later in life as a way to deal with, or whatever the case may be, their separation anxiety, they may not be so secure even in a standard crate. First off, when it comes to separation anxiety, I like a crate that's more sensory deprived. So at least you want to get one of those enclosed plastic sided, the kind you would travel on an airlines with just a grate in the front, maybe some air holes or air grates on the side, and that's it. That is, a Vera kennel. There's different types they have. That's step one. Get it appropriate to the dog size. You don't want it too large, too small. You want to be able to stand up, not have their back touching it, and be able to turn around, lay down comfortably. So then you might want to see how they fare with that. So some things to prevent a dog from having a hard time with a crate or being introduced to a crate is do it slowly. Start with the treats, putting the food in there if they reach in for it. Then you're going to want to close the door. Then you want to do it in increments. And you don't want to do it in 5-minute increments. Do 15, 30, an hour, 2-hour time. Do it over a few weeks. Do it in general. They can sleep in it. Do it when you're hanging out watching TV. Put some hard time into it while you're home, and then you start leaving for short periods, an hour or two, and they'll start getting used to it if a dog isn't so severe, or it's just you're introducing it as a younger dog. Now, your dog has severe separation anxiety, and this is the question. I almost already forgot if I had said it, but the question was asking, what do I do when my dog is able to escape from a crate? I don't want him to get hurt. I see that his nails and his nose are getting hurt, scratched, while I'm gone, and I want it. So first question is it one of those plastic sided crates? Because a lot of dogs will be more secure in it, relaxed, that more sensory deprived environment. You also want to make sure the location of the crate. I find that crates being in the front of the house, looking at the door in the open air space versus a back room, a dark room, a quiet space, gives them the ability to not project like, I know there's a will, there's a way, and then they just don't know how to turn off that anxiety even in the crate. Now, if you have a secure crate, you've done all that, your dog is still having a hard time, you might want to look into reinforcing the crate. Sometimes people take a piece of, it's not so much plexiglass or lucite, but it's a hard plastic. You can get it at Home Depot. They'll cut it. You just shape it to the back, like a plate behind the gate of the door, and you would zip tie it or use some kind of fastener, and that would make it so when the dog tries to scratch or knows that there's a more slippery surface, it's not going to abrase their nose, catch their nails and whatnot. And you still have to do all the exercises. If that doesn't work, you have to graduate. So sometimes you have to say, well, that didn't work, let's go to step 2. You might have to go to another level of crate. They have rough, tough crates. They have gunner kennels, G-U-N-N-A-R, which are really secure. They have, there's a few of them, but they're more, or you can get in something called a dog box, which is, you ever see on the working dogs on the side, those metal boxes with the air holes in them where they transport dogs in. Pretty sturdy, but you got to watch for any sharp edges on those, any loose parts, anything like that. But you have to look at the reviews, see if it's their situation's appropriate to yours, because the size of dogs, the level of anxiety, it all comes into play. But in general, the wire crates are not helpful, even for a new puppy. I don't recommend them. You might have to look into a more expensive, sturdier option. You can doctor the one you have if it's not too severe. And then also you can just make sure you can look at the supplemental things, such as thunder shirts, comfort zone, CBD oils or treats, hemp treats. All these things, at least initially, can help ease the dog into the segue of the confinement, separation, lack of control, things like that. But you don't want to rely on these things forever. Medications, sedation things, trazodone, Xanax, fluoxetine, whatever it may be. You don't want to rely on that unless it's a last resort and you've done everything. And then you got to let time take its course. I always get, when I see a new client, when we're dealing with some pretty bad separation anxiety and there's some crate resistance issues, they freak out. I get the late night emails. After a couple weeks, they see it sometimes gets a little worse before it gets better. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it really is just time. You have to give it sometimes a couple weeks to a month for a dog to start acclimating if you're consistent. As long as the dog can't get hurt, neighbors don't get too upset, you just go slow and they'll learn they're not going to die. No dog ever died from a crate, and if you don't do anything negative associated with it, which is why you're using it more in general, part of their daily regimen, nothing's going to bad. They're not getting traumatized by the tantrum they're creating. And once they learn it's not going to get anything to change as long as they're safe, they tend to relax more and more, and then they see it with their own eyes. So I hope that made sense. Janet. Okay, so so that's your question. Hope that helps you. One more, I'm going to talk about walking. Okay, so I do a lot of walking podcasts, talk a lot about that. And this one is from Gregory, and he says, well, my dog's been walking much better. I've been using some of the techniques you teach me. I've been working on the heel, building his focus in the house, but he still likes to lead ahead sometimes when we get to a new environment or he sees something up ahead he's interested in. How do I keep him behind my leg? A lot of it is just keeping him behind your leg. You might want to make sure if you're using, maybe like a Star Mark collar, you graduate to a Herm Sprenger. Some dogs will focus better with a metal pinch collar, or there's different collars you can play around with that Herm Sprenger makes. They have neck tech collars. You might just want to shape the heel, the let's go or the heel more definitively. You might want to just take time in a distraction-free environment, in the house, in the yard, your garage, and just teach the dog to hold that position with more focus and eye contact, and then slowly segue out back into regular walks where there's greater distractions, new environments, and so on. Some techniques, you want to correct it at times, but if you overcorrect, the dog's just going to tune you out, sometimes shut down. You got to say, hey, have I taken the time to really make it clear and proof what I'm expecting from this dog? Okay, so I hope that helps your questions. I have to go to a client. Again, I hope I made my statement clear. I don't really have a problem with the guy. I just think it's funny. I like bantering. Some people get way too serious, so I'm like, I'm bowing out of this, and I got no time for this, because I get down a rabbit hole too. I'm human. I have flaws. I can lose weight. I gained 20 pounds recently. How about that? All right, so I need you guys. I'm like the number 2 family something podcast in Russia. I don't know how that is. I don't think if that's a mistake, but I get some analytics from time to time, and that's what it says. So if you're in Russia, my people, that's where I'm from, Central Ukraine, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. We're holding steady at 12. We need more. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. It's been episode 63.